So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set systems instead of goals. And I'm going to show you a system that will change your life. Because you ever ask yourself, what is the difference between successful people and not successful people? Between the top 1% and the bottom 99%. Let me tell you, it's quite simple. The top 1%, they set systems. They rely on systems instead of relying on motivation, fleeting emotions, and just feeling like achieving something. And then everybody else just relies on those things that are not consistent, and that's why they get inconsistent results. So if you want to lead a good life, if you want to cut bad habits, remove distractions, finally achieve your goals, and feel like you're in control of your life, then you're in the right place. Because systems are the #1 thing where once you set this in place, you're not gonna have to rely on pure willpower to get you going. And the beauty of systems instead of goals is that systems are with you even on your bad days, any day. But goals, however, are conditional. They only work when you're motivated. They only work when you feel like doing work. They only work when things are perfect. But that's a very rare case. You don't fail because your goal is too big. You fail because you're relying on motivation instead of a repeatable system. So you know that moment when you hype yourself up, you're feeling amazing about all your goals and where you want to go, and then 3 weeks later, time goes by and nothing actually changed. You see, that is the consequence of relying on goals instead of systems. That's why you need to build systems that make success your default, even on your worst days. So before we begin, research and studies have shown that putting a video on full screen increases both retention and understanding. So let's begin. Part number 1, the problem with goals. You see, it's not that you are unmotivated, weak, or lazy. The issue here is that goals don't create action. There's a quote that I really love. Goals are for setting direction, but systems are for making progress. People think goals create discipline, but discipline actually comes from having a vision, a system, and an identity. Now, goals create expectations. Systems create behavior, and identity locks everything in. I actually realized a long time ago that I kind of was setting myself up to fail. You see, I was approaching success in the wrong way. I was waiting for motivation. I was waiting for that hit of dopamine, that validation that what I was doing was the right thing. But then I did some internal work. I started to study this, and what I realized was the right approach is realizing that you can give yourself that validation of doing meaningful work, the validation of knowing that you're on the right path. That validation is the identity that keeps you motivated, and that's going to be part of your system. So as soon as I made that shift, everything started to shift for me. Everything started to change. I started to find it way easier to be more consistent with my goals, to allow myself to achieve better and better things as time went by. Because I went from a place where I was undisciplined, I was unmotivated, I would waste time and procrastinate, and I had 1,000 ideas, but really nothing ever stuck, and I didn't know where to go. So I ended up just being stuck for months and months and months. But when you realize that it doesn't have to be complicated, and that's where systems come in. Part number 2. Systems make success inevitable. So we need to set systems instead of goals, because systems are what creates success, and a lack of systems creates inconsistency. But to create a system, you also need a goal. No goal equals no direction. Now try to imagine a color that you've never seen. It's pretty much impossible, right? So by not having any direction or any vision, it is impossible to go somewhere. If you can't clearly picture what you want in life, if you can't clearly know where you want to go, the type of person you want to be, the success that you want to achieve, then really it's going to be almost impossible to make any real action and any real change towards your goal. And that is where the goal comes in. The goal is just simply direction. It is just simply the vision of knowing where you want to be in 5 years, knowing where you want to be in 10 years, knowing what is going to get you there and who you have to be to become that person that deserves that success, that achieves everything you want. You see, a goal is the destination, and the system you create is a vehicle that gets you there. Because if you have a destination but you have no vehicle, you're not going to get there. If you have a vehicle and no destination, you're also going to get lost. So by combining the goal, which is the destination, with a system, which is the vehicle that takes you there, that is the ultimate path to success. Now, one thing we have to understand is that boring gets you the result, because we keep chasing motivation, hype, and dopamine. But long-term results, they come from repetition, systems, and clarity. And something very important that is very, very often overlooked is that most people, they prepare for their best days, and almost nobody designs for their worst days. You see, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have times where you feel like slipping up, where you feel like returning to the bad habits. And it is the bad day protocol that you have at that time, which is the preparation and the systems you have in place in case things go wrong, that really helps you avoid burning out, avoid just throwing away all your progress and returning to square one. You see, a perfect plan that only works when you feel great is a plan that was destined to fail. A real system works even when life is punching you, even when things aren't going your way, even when something happens in your life, when you don't feel like doing anything, because that day is gonna come. It has come before, and it is very common. So this part is going to be theoretical, but don't worry, the real systems are going to come in part 3. But in order to truly understand and grasp the concepts, we need to first understand the theoretical prerequisites that come beforehand. The ideas, the mindsets, and the insights that make everything click. You see, we don't want to win big. We don't want to be the people who chase all or nothing, because this all or nothing mentality is probably what is going to get you in the next rut you're going to be in. Because you are probably going to be in a rut sometime in the future, and that's normal. And it's about how you prepare for that. And it's also about devising a way to win every day, every month, every year, on average. You see, 80% consistency is just as good as 100%. Even 70%, even 65% consistency means you're above average in terms of what you do. And it's about slowly raising the bar for average, making your average a bit higher every single time. Because really, perfection does not exist. It's really an illusion that keeps most people from just taking the action they need to take to get to where they want to be. And that's where the consistency comes in. Knowing that you are winning and gathering these small wins over a long period of time, that just gives you the evidence that you know you're the type of person. It gives you the stack of belief that then works for you in the future. And that is also thanks to Discipline OS, which is the community, because having that sense of accountability and knowing that you're not the only one, that you have these goals and other people are doing these goals as well, it just sets you on the right path, and it makes it hard to not achieve these goals. And also, side note, I want to thank every one of you who is supporting the community, because it is really popping off right now. We're getting a lot of new members joining, and honestly, it's been a dream of mine. Now let's get back at it. You see, old habits equals old life, and new habits equals new life. There are two versions of you, two frequencies, two ideal personas that you have right now. The old version of you, which is the version who has the old habits, who has the old ways, who's not consistent, who works without a system, who just sets random meaningless goals and doesn't actually achieve them. And that is the old version. The new version, who is destined for success, relies on system, uses systems, creates systems, and does the new habits, the good habits, the things that are going to get them to the next step. Now, we're constantly in a battle and a fight between the old version and the new version. The old version wants you to return to all of the bad ways that were actually impeding your success. And the new future version of you, who is at your desired reality, that version of you is pulling you towards that positive reality. So I used to set traditional goals, but I switched from setting traditional goals to something more like standards. So for example, 2 videos a week, 3 reels per day, and no distractions. That is a standard that requires focus, which then forces me to actually remove distractions to create focus to do those things. You need to set yourself standards that almost force you to level up, that almost force you to think better, to think more clearly, be smarter, and achieve your goals. And something else I also constantly use is a mantra. It's almost like a voice in my head, a slogan, a quote, something like a tattoo. And it's just something that reminds you of your direction. It just pulls you back and centers you. So if you have a sign in your room that says gratitude is key, every time you're gonna feel like you're complaining and you're gonna feel ungrateful, all of a sudden you're gonna look at that and it's gonna shift something inside of you and you're gonna channel gratitude. You can do this with pretty much anything. A mantra is something that pulls you back to the present moment. It pulls you back to the moment of clarity where you know where you have to go, you know the goals, you know where you want to go, what you want to achieve, and who you want to become. And for me, a mantra that I use is this: there is always a better way to do this. And you see, this always gets me thinking when I'm making a video, when I'm starting a project, when I'm doing whatever I'm doing. It just gives me that extra edge where I can actually think about how to innovate, how to make something better, how to be better in that moment. And it's that reminder that really keeps you in check. One of the main standards I hold myself to is being leveraged, which means only doing things that actually make a difference in my life. Not wasting time on things that don't move the needle, not wasting time on things that really don't change my life. You see, you have a limited time and energy every single day. So if you're not leveraged and not thinking like the version of you who has already achieved your goals, then you're just undershooting. All right, now that you have an idea of what systems actually are and also how you can make them work, let's go ahead and create your own system for success. So part number 3, building your own system. So step number 1, write down your top 10 goals. Once this is done, step number 2, pick the one that moves the needle the most. And step number 3, on a brand new page, write down what are the things I have to do on a daily/weekly basis to achieve this goal. So you write down your top 10 goals, you pick the one that moves the needle the most, and then you write down what can I actively do on a week-to-week basis that will actually get me closer and closer to that goal. Everything you write is now a clear, tangible and repeatable system. And this turns a dream into something that is measurable and expectable. Because the last thing we want is a dream without an actual action plan and system to get there. Because that's just going to lead to disappointment, feeling like you're not worthy because your dreams stayed dreams. So now let's move on to the advanced section of creating systems. I've broken this down into a 5-step framework so it's easy to understand and comprehend. So step 1 is define the minimum viable action, the MVA. You see, what is the smallest version of this system that I could complete on any day, even my worst day? This is going to be your safety net to keep your machine oiled up and running. So step number 2 is reduce friction. Remove everything that makes action hard. A system isn't just what you do, but it also is how easy it is to take action. So identify these things. Number 1, what slows you down? Number 2, what stops you? And number 3, what distracts you? And these are things you want to either eliminate or automate. So for example, if recording a video like this takes just 20 minutes to set up the camera, to set up the microphone, then I'm doing it all wrong. Because the longer it's going to take me to just set up the camera and get into the spot of actually filming a video like this, the thing is, it's going to take me so much friction. There's so much friction that on my worst day, I probably couldn't do it. And that is a system that was destined to fail. So instead, I need to create a system that allows me to do it anytime, any day, whenever I'm feeling bad or good or anything. So things I can do in this particular example with filming. I can leave my camera mounted. I can set up the lights ahead of time in the position. So all I have to do is just turn them on before I film. And I can already set up the background and keep it like that. So as soon as I'm sitting at my desk and I'm ready to record and think about what I'm gonna say, it's super easy, there's not much friction, and it's doable. And that is a working system. So this is small stuff that has worked for my life, but you can change it and adapt it to yours. You see, friction kills systems. Remove friction and action becomes the default. Step number 3, add system triggers. The idea here is make it automatic, not willpower based. A lot of people think discipline is about sheer willpower, but it really isn't. Because if you have to rely on willpower all of the time, then it's just going to be super hard to be consistent for a long time. Motivation helps you when it's there, but most of the times it isn't. Willpower you can always have, but it doesn't help you all the time. What really helps you all the time is systems. So you have to move your system from I'll do it when I feel like it to something like this is just what I do when this happens. Triggers are what turn habits into identity. You see, every system should have these things: a cue, an environment, a time, and a place. For example, when I finish my morning coffee, I sit down and write for 15 minutes while drinking my coffee. You see, that's a habit stack. After I shower, I always pray. So think of it like this: you have cues for negative behaviors. For example, when it's late at night and you feel lonely, you end up watching porn. When you had a nice meal and you're full, you just sit on the couch and watch TV. When you are bored, you open your phone and scroll. So you already understand this concept, you're just implementing it not in the right way. Because the same way you have triggers for bad behaviors, just the ones I described, you can also create triggers for good behaviors. So this is kind of like habit stacking. When I wake up in the morning and I meditate, I've connected meditating as a trigger to reading, and then reading as a trigger to then going and praying. And now I have waking up, which is my trigger for meditating, which is my trigger for reading a book, which is my trigger for praying, and then that's my trigger for sitting at my desk and doing deep work. The same way having a healthy meal could be your trigger to then go and exercise because you feel like a healthy person, and because you exercise, you sleep even better and you optimize your sleep and wake up times, and that triggers you to then eat even better and eat more healthy food. And it's just a cycle of positive trigger affirmations, and it's just a cycle that is going to work for you for a lifetime. Now step number 9, create a scoreboard. You see, what gets measured improves, and what isn't measured is forgotten. If you can't see progress, the brain loses interest. You are going to have to give yourself progress, give yourself these spikes and hits of dopamine with the right things that are going to keep you going again and again. So you need to have a scoreboard-based system where you can track your wins, you can track your progress, and track your outcomes. And this is something that only works when done daily, not occasionally. And it also works best when you have real tangible outcomes, real results that you can track, and you can know that when you did this and you got these results, you did a good job, and that is positive reinforcing behavior. This could be a daily output number, so words, videos, reps. So an example of this could be a habit tracker, where as soon as you went for the run, you just tick run, which is the box for run. As soon as you do the habit, for example, read, you tick the box for read. And this is positive reinforcing behavior. It gives you a hit of dopamine to keep you going, to feel like progress is inevitable. Now, this type of system is going to be the whiteboard. So having a whiteboard next to you that tracks your wins, your outputs, what you did with which time, how you spent your time, the goals you had that you completed or didn't complete, and just having everything on a whiteboard as a visual trigger for creating repeatable systems that allow you to track and measure progress, which allow you to win. You see, even checking one simple box every day reinforces your identity. It sounds silly, but these things, they build momentum and identity. And now step number 10 is review and iterate weekly, because systems improve as you improve. Now every week you want to ask yourself what worked and what failed, and how can I make this easier to execute? How can I remove friction between me and the things that I want to do? How can I add friction between me and the things that I don't want to do? Adaptation and evolving is what we need, because a good and powerful system at level 1 is a weak system at level 5. As the levels go up, as you start to stack more habits, and as you start to become better and better, more consistent, more disciplined, more focused, you are leveling up. And as you level up, you're going to need to level up your system as well. And that is where having a weekly review means you can achieve constant optimization. You can understand what are parts of your system that are weak, what are parts of your system that are strong, what are things you were able to stick to, what are things you weren't able to stick to. So just to summarize part number 3, which is building your own system, write down your top 10 goals, pick the most important ones, and then identify what you have to do to get there. That is your written system. Now your visual system is going to be a whiteboard or a tracker or some type of scoreboard where you can identify and track your progress and your wins. And your mental system is going to be your identity, the person you see yourself as, the friction that you choose to remove and eliminate mentally. And also things like self-talk, things like journaling about your thoughts. So you're going to want to lock these 3 systems in place. Number 1 is your written system, number 2 is your visual system, and number 3 is your mental system. There are many types of systems. These are the ones I use. And over time, as you progress through your journey, as you level up, you're going to want to take a look at these systems, take a look at your daily planners, your habit tracker, your mental model, and just optimize them, refine them, find any weak spots, find any strong points, double down on the strong points, and eliminate any weak points. And that constant optimization is going to set you up for success. After watching this video, your success is no longer emotional. There is no more, I'm going to do it when I feel like it. That doesn't exist anymore. Goals point you in the right direction, and systems are what get you there. If you improve the system, the results become automatic. And when your habits change, your life changes. Now, if you want even more, if you want to transform your life and lock in before 2026, then check out my private community linked in the description. We go way deeper into systems. We have 2 weekly calls, and we run comfort zone and dopamine detox challenges, and we hold each other accountable. So if that sounds like something you want, click the link below and I'll see you inside.